I'm doing good, buddy. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. Excited to connect today. It looks like we're just getting started here, so it's you and me. Wait for a couple other people to get on, but let me know while we're doing that, how's everything going with your campaigns?
Well, everything's going pretty good with the campaign. I'm just having an issue. I keep running across a whole lot of retail leads.
Retail leads?
Yeah, or they're like getting renovated in the middle of getting renovated. And I sent out like 15, and I was gonna do my what is it? The second campaign, the piggyback.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm having an issue with. Yep.
Okay.
So that's just kind of having an issue with that.
So
just kind of.
So I just want to make sure I understand, what is the issue. You're getting a lot of leads that are retail?
Yeah.
Welcome to wholesale.
Oh, okay.
That's how it
like,
works. If they called in and said, I want to be as is, sell it real cheap or whatever, this business would be way, way too easy, right? So it's still simple, but not necessarily easy. And that's where the skill and the experience and the repetition is going to come into play. Everybody wants retail. Everybody wants to sell it under wholesale terms and get retail price. And so closing that gap, that's all the conversion piece.
Okay. And yeah, that's what I was just having an issue with trying to, really get that gap closed,
Right. Now, if they're already listed with the realtor, you're going to go more right to, well, are you flexible, right? Because if they're not flexible on price and it's already been listed a while, obviously you'd be way less than that. But that's if it's already listed. But there's going to be a lot of people that are not listed yet, but that are saying they want retail. And that's where you got to be able to explain to them the difference between wholesale and resale. And then from there, as you're teaching them, do they listen to you? Do they care? Because if they don't, they're probably just not ready to hear it yet. But then it's still critical that you leave an impression on them and you tell them what they're going to see in the retail world, so that when they decide, okay, yeah, let's call a realtor, let's do these things, and then they hear the stuff that you already told them, is going to be an issue, now you're looking really credible. And because a lot of people just don't want to hear it at first, right? Like, if I want to sell my house, right, Josh, what do you want for my house? Zillow says my house is worth $800,000. I want $800,000, right? And I might want to sell it in a couple months. But if you're like, well, it sounds like you're probably going to want to go retail, and if you do sell it for $800,000, hopefully you get that, and then beyond that, you're going to have all these fees. It's going to take time and stress and all this stuff. And then if I start, say 2 months from now, I start interviewing realtors, and they're telling me all the stuff I don't want to hear, right? That's giving you back to credibility. I'm going to be like, oh, maybe that guy, did have a point. And so there's a couple takeaways here. One takeaway is that timing and circumstance is everything. And another one is you want to keep following up with them, because timing and circumstance will change. So when you have someone that says, I'm going to be selling real soon, but they want retail, you want to definitely be all over that lead. Now, there might not be anything tomorrow or the next day that you can do to change, but you do want to know when they plan on taking their next step. Because if they don't want to sell it wholesale, they're like, no, I want retail price, right? You don't want to make an offer, because if you make an offer, they're not going to talk to you again. So what you do want to do is say, look, sounds like you're not quite ready yet, right? When you are ready, call me. It'll be the easiest thing as long as I'm ready to go. I have money right now. I don't know if I will then. Okay. So now what's going to happen is, and they're going to be like, well, yeah, and you want to feel them out, and you're knowing like, no, they want that retail number, etc. So you're going to find out, well, it sounds like, why haven't you listed with the realtor? And if they say, well, that was our plan, we're going to call realtors, in a couple of months and list the property, right? Now you already know that's what they were thinking about doing. So now you're like, okay, cool. Well, take in mind, if you sell it to the realtor, you might sell it for one price, you're going to walk away with a lot lower price. Whereas if you and me agree on a price, that's the price you're getting. Okay. Now, how do they react to that? And then they might say, okay, that's great. Right. But then in 2 months, 3 months, whatever, right?
Right.
They finally actually talk to a realtor. So if I'm following up with them, I'm not going to wait 2 or 3 months, right? My notes are going to be like, hey, this person wanted to sell, but it looks like they're a couple months away from actually making a decision. Definitely sounds like they want retail, but we'll see how the time, how that changes as we follow up. And then I'm going to call them probably like, a week or 2 weeks later, not with the idea of like, hey, do a deal with me, right? But with the idea of to kind of remember me here. Do they remember me? So I'm going to call them in a couple of weeks and say, hey, Mr. Seller, this is Josh. Can we talk a couple weeks ago? Sounds like you were a couple months away from selling your house. Is that still the case? Okay. Because
Okay.
they're gonna say one or two things. Yes, right? Or, oh no, actually I just had a realtor come by yesterday, right? So if the realtor came by yesterday, that just sped up the whole time process. And now you want to know, okay, how'd that go? Right? Well, he told me I need to fix this, and this. Oh, okay. Well, you wouldn't have to do that if you sold it to me. Did he tell you what you should list it for? Yeah, he said I should list it for 200. 200, that sounds really high. I know realtors, they only get paid if you sell it, so they've got nothing to lose, wasting your time and frustration. But I mean, I would encourage you to go online and look, because 200, I don't think anything's sold in your name, right? So whatever happens, you can address it. Or he says, no, yeah, I'm still a couple months away from talking to him. Okay, great. Well, I still have the cash. I haven't spent it yet. I don't know about if I will in 2 months or not, but definitely call me, when you make that decision, and you can make your comparison, and I'm ready, right? Because now, if he's ready next week, and it's still going to be in 2 months, he's that much more likely to call you back when he's ready, right? And all of a sudden now it's a hot lead, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so you're going to feel now this whole situation, this guy is probably still going to end up listing with the realtor, right? Because that's what most people do. But if you work 10 retail leads like that, you're going to turn one of them into a deal. It might be in 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever, right? And so now it just comes back to volume and consistency. Every single day you're adding leads into your pipeline. Most your leads are going to want retail, right? So now that's your funnel. I've got all these leads I've talked to in the last month, 2 months, 3 months. Most of them wanted retail or just weren't quite ready. So now I'm following up with those, not really to try to push them over, hey, sell me your house cheap today, but more to keep in touch with them until timing and circumstance is there. At the end of the day, once the time is ready that, yes, now I'm ready to sell my house, because there's two things. There's commitment and then there's price. When they get to that commitment stage, right, with our example, that was 2 months or whatever, right? When that happens, that's when you're really going to know price. Everybody wants retail, right, in the beginning. Right. And when it comes down to it, everybody wants retail. But when I'm thinking about selling my house and what price I want for it is much different than, okay, I've already talked to investors, talked to realtors. I understand how long it's going to take, fees, all that kind of stuff. So, early on, I might have been like, no, I want 800 for my house. That's what Zillow says. And I know I'm selling it in a couple months and I won't take a penny less. But 2 months later, this guy, Tim's been following up with me, and everything he kind of told me that was going to probably happen has happened. And I don't really want to go down that route and keep wasting time and not be sure what I'm going to get. So now I might want to hear, hey, Tim, what is your offer? But now when you offer 400, right, I'm still like, holy shit. I'm like, man, there's no way. I did come, all that stuff you said a couple months ago and that we talked about, that made a lot more sense after I did all this stuff. But, man, I was really hoping to still walk away with, 7.25. I mean, I figured if you want to kiss the fees and everything else, right? So now you still got to get that guy down. Or maybe that guy is like, no, I've only got 2 weeks. Damn, I didn't think 400. Can you do 6? Right? And you still end up somewhere with the deal. So I know I'm getting windy, but that's, don't be discouraged. That's all sales and that's all conversion. It's going to be the same on pay-per-click, direct mail, anything else. The difference, pay-per-click, direct mail, those things, you'll go bankrupt if you can't get them off of retail onto wholesale. You know what I'm saying? But you're still going to have those. So what you want there's two things. You got the marketing side and the sales side. Marketing side is how many calls are going out? How many leads from that am I getting? And honestly, that's pretty much it, right? Now, if all the leads are terrible, why are they terrible? If the only reason they're terrible is because they want retail or they're not quite ready yet, that's just the luck of the draw. And if it's 10 in a row like that, that's one thing. If it's 100 in a row, that's a problem where we're not able to create a situation. We're not able to get through to them. We're not really getting them to see it. Okay. And we need to work on something.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I was kind of like going towards. I wasn't sure if my message wasn't clear enough or anything like that, because I know this week I did I called myself and the Ring Central, it was doing the company thing where if you press 1 or 0, so I took that off.
Yeah, you do not want to do that. If you're doing that, that's a red flag. You probably want to go back through the video, all the training modules, because there could be other little nuances that seem small that are huge that you're missing.
Yeah, because once I changed that up, then
the fact that you said you realized that was still on, that's a huge red flag.
Okay.
I mean, just to be honest, you know what I'm saying? Because every little nuance, I mean, is game changer. But at the end of the day, that's the thing. On the marketing side is how many calls, how many leads you're getting. Now, quality of leads, that's another story. And obviously, blanket lists, we're going to get different quality than wide niche. But at the end of the day, if you're not converting 1 out of every, 20, 25 leads at the absolute worst, that's conversion. It's only going to take repetition, understanding everything that's happening more, understanding what they're going to see more, and just, you know what I'm saying? But if it's a leads thing, like people aren't even calling, they have any interest in selling their house at all, that's marketing. But those two things are complete. On marketing side, all you want to, get the call. That's the only goal. You can't really, there's really no way to, let me put it this way. Anything that you would do to try to only get the best leads means you're going to just miss other leads. So on the marketing side of things, you're trying to give people hope for gain. You're trying to get them to reach out to you. Now, once they reach out to you, you're trying to actually turn that into a deal.
Got you. Okay, and then also one more thing. It was also the list, because I was going to order another 15,000.
Yeah.
Now, how do I go about like not getting the same numbers again?
Oh, you just need to suppress it. So what I would do is, was it wide niche or blanket list that you're ordering?
It was blanket list.
Blanket list. So just if you just reach out to the list company and ask them to suppress it. Oh, I don't know. It depends what list source you're using. But if you're using Best Wholesale List, just email.
Yeah, that's what I'm using.
Say, I want more records, and then just say, can you please make sure I don't get the records of my last order? And they'll be able to pull it up in your account, and it's called suppressing it.
Okay, that one. And then also, do we call back the ones that aren't leaving messages as well? Because I've had quite a few of those.
It depends how many leads you have. How much time right now is spent calling back leads that said they were interested, or following up, or going on appointments?
Probably about an hour or two. I've been going on about appointment every other day.
So that's really good. So yeah, I would, if you have time, then 100% call everybody back. You call your 50-50s, call your missed calls.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that's something later you're not going to do, probably, or maybe have an assistant do that because you'll be too busy on appointments and doing dispositioning your deals and stuff. But in the beginning, yeah, unless it's actual deals that are holding you up, which means then it's time to hire, then whatever it is, if no time, watching TV or whatever, just like, if you don't have a lead in front of you, then the whole thing is, how do I get another lead? And if that's send out more volume and you can afford to do that, then it's that. If that means I'm going to get on triple dialer and recall everybody, I'm going to do that. But before I recall everybody, I would definitely, call the missed calls and those first, for sure.
All right. Well, I'll do that then. Woo. Thank you, because I got a little frustrated there.
No, yeah. It's just understanding the difference, because it honestly, that I would say the number one reason people get into the business and then get out, I usually see one of two paths, right? Usually people get it and they're like, this business is awesome and their life changes, or they're like, they don't get it and they're like, I don't know how to get the right leads. That right leads misperception. You cannot build a business around the hot leads. Now, we got a deal a couple of years ago for $5,000, right? And we kept that one for 200. Like, that's gonna happen in years, and hundreds of thousands and millions of calls and hundreds of thousands spent on marketing and all sorts of shit. And we'll get more of those and they'll happen. Building a business around those home run deals will never happen, right? I've spent more in marketing. So if you don't have the bread and butter deals coming and going, then all of a sudden it's what I'm saying. So what happened on the marketing side, right? Everybody's like, motivated sellers, right? Like, it's all about just right leads. But that's a fraction of them, right? A lot of them are going to be, you're converting them. You're closing the gap, right? Most people don't already know, I just got to take way less. And if they do, then they're just going to go to Google. They're going to get 3, 4, 5 bids, right? And then that's going to be hard competition. So the easiest way with all that is conversion secrets. And if you go into the bonus area, there's like an hour and 10-minute video. I'm only talking about the first conversation in that video with the seller. Okay. So after you qualify them, now you're going to call back and make an offer, or you're not, depending on their situation. And then after that, you're going to close, right? So there's multiple pieces of the conversion process. You know what I mean? That you really want to master, and that change everything. Because think about it this way. I mean, if you go into Flip Hackers too, there's a marketing overview video I did a long time ago, and I basically talk about like the different things. Like, look, and I talk really heavy about direct mail in the video. I'm like, look, if you're not spending at least $3,000 to $5,000 a campaign, you could be the best salesperson in the world, and you're not even spending enough money just to get the numbers to know if there's a deal in there. Or maybe you're buying one deal, and if you miss it, it's not there. But if you get 2 deals, you're crushing it, right? So it's now the thing is but same thing with this, right? You could have 100 leads from cold calling on steroids. You get 1 deal, okay, and your return is 1-to-1. Well, you get 2 deals, and your return could go 6-to-1. You get 3 deals, right? You really want to shoot for leads. You're closing, at least 6 deals, if not 10, somewhere in that window where it's like, okay, now the profit just gets stupid. But in the beginning, where you're trying to just make sure you get at least a campaign back, an extra deal, things like that, it's a conversion piece. All of a sudden, these people start moving when you're talking to them much easier. And it's just because repetition. I said this, they moved. Oh, okay, that's what I'm going to say now every time that happens, right? So in all that, because we talk about a lot of the common things said and the flow, but no matter what, even if you went through conversion secrets and you could pass a text, when they say this, I say that, and like, here's how to maneuver all the situations, there's still going to be that live component, where repetition and dealing with people. So I would, going through that stuff is great. And it's just working leads and understanding that, like out of 100 leads, I might get 1 laydown. You know what I mean? And it might be 200, but we're not looking for the laydowns. Like, we're looking for the ones that we're going to convert. And then all of a sudden, we're just going to be like, well, that one was too easy when they do come. You know what I mean? But reward always favors momentum,
I got you now. So that's what I'll go ahead and do then. I'll just go ahead. Now, how does the follow-up really work? Is that like every 2 weeks or so? Just
it's boom. So that's then the next step. If you're not going to make an offer, then it's all about follow-up. Or even if you do make an offer and you're still following up with them, that's probably a really hot working lead. If you don't make an offer, that's probably a follow-up. The difference, a working lead means like we could convert this thing to a deal today, tomorrow, this week. A follow-up lead means they're going to be ready to sell in the near future. So there's really no point yet making an offer or anything like that, usually. Now, that's a 2-second overview of a whole process, but follow-up is always going to be depending on that person. So remember the example of the guy that's not going to sell for a couple months? I'm calling him in a couple weeks. 2 things. 1, I want to make an impression so that in 2 months, he really remembers me. Because 1 call, I might have wowed him, but if I don't call him back a second time to like solidify that impression, in 2 months, he might forget me. But if I wowed him and then 2 weeks later, I remind him of me and kind of little wow him again, now I got to wait. That he remembers me. Then the second piece is the first time I talked to him, he thought he was 2 months away. So now I'm going to call him 2 weeks later and just confirm. Hey, is it still a couple months you're thinking, or 6 weeks? Right? Because those timelines will always change. They'll go forward and they'll come up, and you just don't want to miss any of them. But if I got somebody that goes, well, I'm going to be in Phoenix and next month, I get in on this date, right? Then I'm probably calling him 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
And hey, just making sure you're still going to be in town next week. Does that still work? And starting to set up the appointment. But every time you pick up that phone, you want to be thinking about what's my next move, right? And even talking to him. So if you're talking to him, qualifying him, your next move hopefully is going to be getting to make an offer, unless you get to the end of your sheet and you realize they're not selling it for 4 months, blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, okay, what's my next follow-up, right? But you're always thinking every time you're talking to the seller, what's my next move, until it's time to close, which is where we're netting them into the boat. And that there's only one goal is that.
Okay, see, that's what I think I was running into. I think I was trying to close, and they weren't really on the same page, and I was, that was the whole issue that I was going through.
So qualifying is finding out, kind of reading between lines, figuring out where they're at in the cycle, how they're thinking, what they want, right? Then, and that's where you start to educate them. Okay. Now, but really, you're more feeling them out. You're not really going to be like, well, hold on, you got to remember, you got fees, and it's going to take forever. Like if you say all that shit, it kind of turns them off. So qualifying is happy, blah blah blah. Then make the offer, and they're like, what? That's way too low, right? But if you set it up right, now you educate. You're like, well, remember you said this? Well, yeah. I mean, if you went retail, and there's so there's all that piece, and then you go into close. Right? Well, that's going to be based on how they reacted to the offer. If they wanted 200 and retail's 190. And you offer them 100, right?
Right.
Because they do want to sell now, and everything else says that they should be a deal, but you can't get them on price. They're just too retail. And then you start labeling, right? Well, it sounds like you probably want to list with the realtor, right? No, I don't want to list with the realtor. I hate realtors, blah, blah. Okay, well, you just told me, right? So we get very, I could talk for hours on like each little step, but that just goes to show how much convert, like everyone overlooks conversion. You know what I mean? Most of you get into business, if I can just get the easiest leads, I'm going to crush it. And if you can afford to do enough volume, you will. I mean, I could get you the needles in the haystack with this, but you're going to be calling 300, 400, 500,000 people a month. And truthfully, you'd be brain damaged even at that. You'd be like, okay, shit, I think it'd be a lot easier to just convert a few more of these.
Yeah, cool. I'll go ahead back and listen to the conversion secrets a little bit more because I thought I had it down packed, but that's what I'll go back and do and,
Yeah, and that's
dial it in a
the
little
first
bit more.
step. So whenever you're ready, I mean, I definitely would look into getting into the whole thing. Or we always talk a lot about conversion at the intensives as well, but yeah, that'll be huge. So I mean, I see Mark's on the line right now.
Yeah, I got the whole thing.
Right now, so I think everybody should be unmuted. Mark, how's everything going with you, brother?
Hey, Josh, go good. Pretty excited. I had got held up this week, closed down a rental and had some tax stuff to handle for return,
Nice.
But kicked it off this morning about a few hours ago.
Perfect.
Went with 1,000, and it looks like I have about 40 callbacks so far. And 11 voicemails. Haven't gone through those yet, but I'm guessing you said those quick ones are probably don't call me though, right?
So right when you launch, call volume is high, quality is low. And then the more time goes on, call quality goes up and volume comes down. So if tonight you might get 2 or 3 calls, there's like 50-50 chance on each one they're a lead. Right now, if you've got 11 calls, hopefully 1 or 2 of them's a lead.
Sure.
So, but yeah, so 1,000 calls, what list are you calling?
That was the wide niche absentee 65 plus.
That's a good list. Okay, cool. It's not the highest response list, but it's one of the best converting and hot deals and stuff like that because of their situation. And what market are you in again?
Denver,
that's right. Yeah. Well, keep me posted on that. I mean, 1,000's pretty low volume, but that's a great for your first one. You're going to see all these things. But the reason I said if you get 1 or 2 actual leads, well, I mean, even if you got 1, you're crushing it because if you're 1 lead per 2,500 is pretty much like the standard. You should be able to hit that. 1 in 1,500 is insanely good. Like in one campaign or one day, it could be doable, but doing it in, you know what I'm saying? So at 1,000, I mean, if you get a couple leads that are good, now wide niche, you're going to get better data. And this is the first time you've hit it. Hopefully other people haven't called it as much, stuff like that. But keep me posted and watch that. If you've got enough metrics coming in, you should be getting, you'll have a good feel. And then I would just, send another 1,000 out tomorrow or Monday, just stay real consistent and you're in good shape.
Yeah, I think I have 20,000 because I bought a blanket list as well. So I think I'll kick it up to 2,000 on one day. I just wanted to make sure that like the voicemail went through clearly.
Yes, that was a great idea. And what you could do too is like I would maybe stay lower on the wide niche and higher on the volume until you put more money back into it, and then try to go as wide niche as much as you can.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But that way, so if you're like, well, I'm kind of looking at your time and budget. If you're like, okay, like trying to max. So if you've got 20,000 wide niche records, right, and you call 2,500 a day, you're through them in like 8 days. Now you can piggyback and turn that into 16, which is really like 3 weeks. But you can play with it. I mean, honestly, you've got enough records there that the key is, but no, I like that. I think you're right on the right track, man.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, cool. And congrats on the rental. Was that one you were selling or buying?
Buying. It's my second one now. So
nice. How many rentals do you have?
2.
Cool, man. Well, congratulations. That's I love rental. I mean, I try to take as much excess cash as I can and buy rentals. That's the true end game.
Yeah, this one was seemed like, this is what I've heard, it was a complete hassle, just back and forth constantly before closing, but got everything done, have a property manager in place, so should be good too.
Boom. Yeah, that's awesome. And cool. Love hearing that. And then it looks like Stephanie just joined us. I'm trying to unmute you, Stephanie. It might be on your end. You might be able to unmute yourself. Oh, somehow Tim got muted as well. Oh, maybe Tim, maybe you did that. That's cool.
Hello.
If anybody's ever muted and you don't want to be muted, since there's only a few of us on right now, just comment and let me know. Josh, I'm muted and I'll unmute you. How are you doing, Steph?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. How's everything going?
It's going. I'm only 3 days in, so.
Yeah, and we were DMing right before the call, correct, on Instagram?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was over at the bank. It was funny too because I was sitting there waiting for a banker. And I opened my DMs up and I saw that, and it made me realize, oh my gosh, we've got a call in 10 minutes. So as I sent you that thing and I was like, are you going to be on the call? I was walking out to my car, like, luckily banks across the street, but I had to come back on here. So yeah, and you, I don't know if you caught everything that we were talking about volume and stuff in the beginning there, but I think because you were saying you're at about 8,000 calls out right now, one lead and several or was it one lead or no leads? But I know you said you had some.
So I'm 10,000 in. By the time I finished my broadcast today, I was 10,000 in. I received about 10 calls back. But then since then, when I've called back, I haven't gotten anyone on the line except for one guy who said that he is not interested in selling his house, but he was just curious what my offer would be. So whatever. But
yeah, so the conversion piece on that guy is you're not going to make him an offer, okay, until he's really ready for it. And if he's not ready to sell the house, he's not. So what we let him know is, hey, we just sold a house. We have some money. And if that doesn't work for you, like we always just sold a house. That actually works for us too. But basically you just let him know, look, I need to buy something right now. I've got the money. I don't know that I will in a couple months or whenever so it sounds like you're not ready right now. I would hate to give you an offer and then you call me back and I don't have the money anymore. That being said, I put a lot of time and make sure that I get you my best offer when you are ready to sell, and there's going to be no fees. You wouldn't have to do anything. You can pick whatever date. Why don't you keep my number and give me a shout whenever you're ready to move, and I'll have my best offer then. If I don't have the money at the time, I'll let you know right away, but call me first before you have to, do it a harder way or pay any fees, right? Now he's going to do one or two things. Say, okay. If he says, okay, you really have nothing to lose. Like, this guy's not ready to sell his house right. That's the end result of qualifying him. We don't make him an offer. Or he goes, well, maybe I'd sell it now for the right price, right? Now you're right back on your script. Well, why are you selling, right? So all that's conversion stuff again too. But I want to get back to your marketing numbers for a minute. So you said you're 10,000 calls in. Now that's including through today. And how many calls went out today? I think you said 2,000.
So no, today 5,000 went out.
Oh, so through today, you had made 5,000 calls.
No, so yes. So Wednesday I did 2,500. Yesterday I did 2,500. Today I did 5,000.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Okay, so you're way too early to really read anything.
Right.
What we can read is how many calls back. Leads are tough. Me and Mark were just talking about a minute ago that, right when you send it out, you're going to get your highest call volume. And that's when you're going to get your most, no, I don't even own a house, or no, screw you, don't call me, or what's this about, right?
Right.
When they call back tonight or tomorrow or in 3 days, they're going to be more likely. I can tell you that the busiest day to get people to call you back is Thursday. Now, I don't mean make all your broadcasts on Thursday or even increase volume on Thursday. I mean people calling back from other days. So you call Monday, you call Tuesday, you call Wednesday, you're going to have more people. You'll have people, and it's just Thursday's just the day of the week. That doesn't mean that you won't get calls back all the other day. Like you're every single day you should have calls coming in, going out, calls coming in, new leads being qualified, being offered, and then closing the hot ones, right? But Thursday's the hottest day that you'll have even from other days. So what we call, there's basically two types of leads. You have your direct leads, meaning I called them today, they called me back. I called them a couple days ago, they called me back. And then you have your trickle. Your trickle is like I called them last week, but they called me today because they were out of town and just got the message. Or they got my message, put it up on their refrigerator, but they're calling me today. So the longer it is of the trickle, typically the hotter the quality of the lead, okay? So I say all of that to say, scratch the 5,000 from today, right? We don't really know yet from that. It's too early to tell. Give it at least 24 hours, if not 72. The other 5,000 is still really fresh. 2,500 yesterday and 2,500 Wednesday. But that is some volume. And I know you were telling me on the DM that's a blanket list. So my biggest concern with the numbers you gave me is that you said 10 callbacks. When you say 10 callbacks, do you mean 10 voicemails that you thought might be leads? Or do you mean like 10 people called back in?
So a lot more people called back, but many of them didn't leave any kind of voicemail, just nothing.
So that when you said 10, what is that 10?
That's 10
people
people
that left voicemails, or people that had some interest, or what is that?
That's 10 people that said, hey, Stephanie, got your message. This is my number. Call me back.
Okay, so those are 50-50s.
Mm-hmm.
Is what and that, that's kind of how we rule those. Now, you do want to call them back. It's great you're calling them back. But the reason, if they say, hi, Stephanie, this is Josh, got your message about the house, please call me, that's a lead.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So right away, we're calling it a lead. Now, once in a while, you're going to call a lead, and they're going to go, no, I'm not really interested in selling, right? But and then you just update your count. You're like, oh, I thought I had 3 leads yesterday. I actually only had 2. Okay?
Okay.
That way you can track your conversion and see how many leads to how many offers to how many deals. All that to say, so you got 10 voicemails. Do you know how many missed calls there was in addition to the 10 voicemails?
Goodness. I think I've had about 26 voicemails on Ring Central, but most of them were nothing on the line.
Did I listen to your message when you first went live? Did you send in your message and have me listen to it?
I don't remember.
Okay, if you email me that when we're done.
Okay.
Or if you have it and you can play it right now on the call, that'd be fine too. Let me listen to it. The market's going to tell you, right? But I've got a pretty good experience and pretty good feel for it.
Okay.
But ultimately, you can't really count your 5,000 today yet. It's just too early.
Sure.
So really, I would look at it and I'd say, well, you've made 5,000 calls. You've had, about 35 call backs. Of those, 10 50-50s and 1 shitty quality lead, right? The guy that was like, I wouldn't want to offer. That is a lead for sure. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The quality, I don't know. He could be bluffing, but if he's not bluffing, it's probably, and it's not, doesn't mean it's shitty. Right, going back to what I was talking about, Tim, that guy might be super hot in 2 months, right? So what you want to know, what you really are trying to figure out when you're qualifying him is, A, is he ready to sell now? If that is no, then it's, well, when are you going to be selling? Why are you selling? Right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And that'll help you a whole lot. But either way, so 1 lead. So what I can track is 5,000 calls. I mean, I'd count Wednesdays and Thursdays by now. It's kind of aggressive, but you could count those and you've got 1 lead. So hopefully we can get to at least 2, but you're easily there. You could have somebody trickle in. So bottom line, 10,000. I mean, by next week's group call, make sure you're getting 2,500 out every single day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then when we say where you're at next week, we're gonna have a good idea.
Okay.
So, and if you want to send me a message or post on Facebook group in the meantime as well, and not wait all the way and kind of give me feedback, but that's what we want is what we're gonna want is call volume, calls back. I wouldn't get in that, because you were saying I've had a bunch more people call me that said they were tenants than even said they wanted to sell, and that was off a blanket list. So if you called if you had you sent out a lot of calls, right, where you'll be in a week, and those are the only people calling you, that'd be more of a concern. But if at this stage it's just the initial calls, more of those, I would just not counting it, just kind of keep it in your back pocket, but really we just got to get some more data in front of us to look at that stuff.
Sure. And then I did have a question. Sorry to monopolize your
No,
time.
we got a small group today too. And so couple things. This is the smallest CCOS class we've ever had. It's the first time we did it after a month instead of 2 or 3 months. So I think we have 8 or 10 people in this class, and we usually have 30 to 50% of the people get on every call. A lot of people go back and watch the replays or just hit me up when they have a question. But the good thing is there's 3 of us. So you guys take all the time you want.
Okay. So my other question is, I think I mentioned to you, so I live in a really rural area, but we're moving to Boston in June. And so I've been doing this virtually in Boston to kind of try and transition there. But one thing I didn't really think about or anticipate is the prices of houses is just so much bigger there. So do you typically use the same math? I mean, are you still doing 70% of ARV? I mean, is it the same, or because those numbers are so much bigger, does that alter at all?
70% of ARV minus repairs, you're going to be hard pressed to find a deal anywhere in the country right now.
Yeah. Unless
you're talking to sellers that aren't talking to anybody else, you're going to get outbid. I mean, we're paying in some instances 90% minus repairs here in Phoenix, and then selling the properties like hotcakes.
Okay.
Now it's going to depend on your market, right? And it's going to depend on what price range you're in. Even more important, what neighborhood you're in. What I would look at, what you want to look at is what zip codes are the highest in cash transactions. And
okay.
you can do that. Basically,
I've already done that.
What's that?
I've already done that.
Okay, perfect. So once you identify the ones that are, like in California, if you pick up a wholesale deal at 300,000, that's cheap, right? In Arizona, 300,000, that's not cheap, right? You're kind of like in the middle. So totally different wholesaler, like, because on cheap shit, like under 200, people are just like crabs over each other trying to get the deal for small margins. And then you get up in the 500-600s, the margin could be much bigger, and you're like, damn, why is nobody calling, right? If it's a good deal, it's going to do. But so those same principles are going to apply everywhere. So find out where the most cash transactions are. It's probably going to be in areas that are on the lower end of the price range for that market, which could still be 300,000, 60, depending on where you're at, right? Boston, New York, San Francisco, they're going to be super high. I know prices even in Denver where Mark's at are not cheap. Yeah, you want to focus on cash transactions. I like that you're already getting into Boston. If that's where you're going, that makes all the sense in the world. But it's just going to take getting better at your market and all that kind of stuff. So the reason I say I don't like 70% of ARD is it's just really, it doesn't really work. It's cool as a rule of thumb when you're kind of new, but you're going to be looking at it. And ideally, you want to kind of know, like, this is where you're getting to. And if you do this every single day, right, you're going to get to this point in 6 months to a year where you're like, oh, now that's in Laurelhurst. Like, holy shit. And we got it for this price. Like, people like those, you can't even get them. So people will pay almost retail even if they need work. Or, oh, that one's in, South Phoenix or whatever, like those, there could be a ton of equity and probably no one's even going to want to play ball. So you need it to be like, right? So those little nuances, if you're just going 70% on everything, it's like, it makes it a little tougher. So what I do, the easiest way to do it, or to break it down in a quick analysis or whatever, is I slot it, okay? So if you get the property, you want to basically figure out bedrooms, baths, square footage, when it was last updated, how old the roof is, just the main stuff, right? What kind of countertops it has in floor. If you ask for every single little detail, it's too much information and you're going to bore your seller, and then that's going to kill their energy. And so you just want to get the main stuff, right? So you can do a kind of quick underwriting. The goal is to have enough information that you can pull up the comps, right? Zillow, MLS, doesn't matter what you use. When you pull up the comps, you're really looking at what recently sold and how quick it took to sold and what it was priced at. The actives don't really tell you a whole lot. Okay. Now, if you have if you look at all your solds and you determine what you think yours should sell based on its current condition. Okay. And that's going to kind of figure out now based on back of that, right? Now, if there's actives lower than what you thought it should sell for right now, then that's a problem. That means the market's going down.
So
right now, go ahead.
So I actually asked a question on the group because there are like 6 houses for sale in that neighborhood right now. And they're all quite a bit more than what my comps are. I'm like over 100,000 more than what my
comps are. That's why they're active. Yeah, and that's why actives don't. All they tell you is the property's not worth that. Or if it is, it's not quickly worth that. Because we're not interested in what the property could maybe sell for at the most. We want to know what would it sell for in a day. If you can swap for what would this property sell for like that, then you can figure out and know real quick how much back of that investors are paying. And you're going to do that by putting ads on list, marketing deals, and finding out who's actually buying. And then you can go, hey, Tim, what do you give me for this property in this condition? Here's the address. Boom. Right? Hey, Mark. Hey, Josh. And that now all of a sudden you're getting real market feedback. We call those buy bids, right? And then you start to realize, like, damn, over here they pay like, I'm always surprised at how high they'll pay. Over here, I'm like, damn, I thought these were going to be all these good deals, but maybe they're not, because even though the numbers are great, nobody cares about these deals.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, but stay at it. I'm excited. You're taking action. You're doing it by the book, getting your daily volume out. It's doubling it up on Friday. You're on the call. You're crushing it. And these calls are super important. I would, I told Christian, I said, send an email out to everybody else. Make sure they, because it's, even if you implement everything and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This works. I get it. I don't need it on the coaching calls. There's always going to be little nuggets, right? I've been running this since I think we started CCOS in 13, not teaching it or anything like that, but just like our first 14, but just like our first calls out. So, it's like, there's a lot of this morning, right? I was reviewing my numbers, my sales guys, and we were I was like, hey, let's test a new message for Caesar. I like it, but I think it's too aggressive, this, that, right? So, I mean, it never stops. I've got a scorecard, and we look at every single day, we look at our numbers. How many leads are coming in? How many calls are going out to how many leads that are coming in? Okay. Then how many leads are coming in and how many we actually get. Remember you said like 10 of them have came in and you've only got hold of one so far. That means, you know, how many people called. We look at how many people called in that thought were a lead. Of those, say you got 10 leads, how many people am I actually getting hold of? And you want to be at an 80 to 90% contact rate. Now, there's going to be a 24, 48-hour window where people will play a little phone tag. But at the end of the month, you want to be, you know, 78% minimum on the contact rate.
Okay, great.
So cool.
Well, I actually have to jump off here because I'm taking my daughter to a booth sale. But thank you so much for your help.
You rock, Stephanie. And as always, we'll throw the recording in the library. So if you want to check it out later, you can. And then, so awesome. Good session and go enjoy that.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. So cool. So Tim, Mark, anything else coming up? Anything right now I can help with? I know both of you guys are live, so that's good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did. I do have about $7,000. I'm kind of debating about whether or not I should put it into the wide niche or if I should put it to more blanket lists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like, I don't know. What is your opinion on that?
Well, always wide niche is going to be better data, right? And like key number one, better data is better results. But with that being said, you got to look at your budget too. If you drop $7,000 right now, well, you've got to buy enough minutes to cover all the lists, right? And that's not going to cost $1,000, $2,000, whatever. It's going to easily, even if you got all that. So make sure you've got enough per minute. But now my question, this is what I always ask people, is you will get to a point where it's not about this. It's more about just what your return is. There's enough marketing money in the account to cover if we don't get a deal, we're still going to keep marketing for 6 months or a year, right? Like you'll get to this point and then it's more just about your return. In the beginning, the question you want to ask yourself is, if I spend $7,000 and I don't get a deal, how long is it before I can do marketing again? So in other words, if you spend $2,000 on minutes and $5,000 on wide niche data and call everybody and don't get a deal and don't even have enough, like, how long would it be before you come up with at least enough money to buy minutes and at least call those people again, right? So I'm trying to figure out, like, worst case scenario, if you don't get a deal, whether it's marketing, conversion, both, whatever, right? Will you be stuck until you can do something? Because if it's not very long, then we got to do that. If you're like, 3-4 months, then I'm like, dude, then, right? So so anyway, so I'll let you answer though. If you spent the $7,000, don't get a deal from it, how long would it be before you could before you could spend another $500 on marketing or $1,000?
It'd probably be like another week or so after that. Then
definitely go with white niche. So in other words, you right now in your day job, you're making enough to get by and live, and that's covering right now the startup of this. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm hustling my butt off. I'm doing Uber, my day job, and all this.
Keep doing that, right? Because it only gets easier. So, okay, that's what I wanted to know. White niche data, 100%, as much volume as you can, but it's still going to be conversion is such a game changer, right? Like we've been talking about this whole call. But no, I would say wide niche data is going to make your life way easier. It's going to get you to your first deal, your first big deal, and more deals quicker. So that's the question. But if you told me 3 months, I'd be like, no, we need to because you're newer and I already know conversion's more of an issue. I would be like, no, let's stretch that out for longer, do some more piggybacking, maybe some triple, like whatever it takes, right? Now, for myself, if I parachuted right now in OKC, I had no money, no nothing, whatever, except for just $7,000 cold hard cash, and that's all. Like if I don't get a deal, I'm out. I'm dead. I'd still go to wide niche data, but my confidence and my ability to convert is like fucking insane. With you know what I'm saying? I literally talked to, I don't even know the number, at least 10,000 sellers, right, in my career. I mean, right. Qualified 10,000. So that's probably more than that, right? I mean, 11 years of talking to sellers, and I've never been a low volume guy ever. So, right. So, but that's kind of so you kind of understand just the way I'm thinking through all that stuff. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. I see it.
So yeah, but I would. Put in your order too if you want to ping me. feel free to do that. I'm always happy to provide input on like, hey, Josh, I'm thinking that these filters or whatever, whatever, like drop it in Facebook or send me a message or whatever. But if I can help on the details of your campaigns, I'm always happy to do so.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. Yeah, because I think that's what I'm really trying to just narrow down my campaigns to. I think that'll probably help it out.
Perfect. Yep. No, I'm more than happy to do that.
All right. Yeah, because I think I'm gonna probably do my voicemail as well, a voice message.
Okay. Yeah. And did I listen to yours when you went live?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're at right now. I'm trying to see if I wrote down. Did I write down your numbers? Do you know how many calls you're at and leads so far?
So far it was for every 2,500. It was about 1. But then, like I said, those are a lot of. That was with the Ring Central mistake that I had.
So it could even be better. So that one's probably good. I would test the second one, just see if it's like way better, like any better. If it's the same, cool. You've got 2 messages that work. If it's bad, go back to your first one. You're getting good numbers. It sounds like on this number. It sounds like they could be better, but you could also try to get better, and then it goes the other way, right?
Right.
They're a little bit finicky. But that's not a bad number. So yeah, I would play with it, spend a day on another one to see if anything changes really, and know that if it bombs, you can call them again with your first message, or, wait a week and then call them again. But
yeah, that's it. I'm just trying to, I'm really trying to narrow this down. So yeah, any help I can get with that, that'd be great.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Always happy to do that. And same thing, if you go to piggyback that list in a couple weeks or something like that, hey Josh, I'm going to piggyback one. Can you listen to it real quick? You know what I'm saying? It's super easy for me to do.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll do that tonight, and then I'll just put it on the Facebook group. What you say, DM?
Yeah, however you want to. Well, I mean, if you put it in Facebook group, it's always super helpful because everybody else sees it. So that's going to benefit a lot. There's a lot of people that won't even post and comment, but they just see everything, right? Because some people post more on social media than others. So if you can put it out there for the group, that'll be awesome. But either way, if you reach out to me, I'm not going to leave you hanging. If I do, just nudge me, because it just means I probably have 200 emails or something like that.
Yeah, I know you're a busy man.
Yeah, but I'm always, listening to the message shouldn't be longer than 45 seconds. So I can always, spare 45 seconds for it.
All right, well, I'll do that then.
Boom, cool. All right, well, guys, crush it. Before we wrap this up, you guys, anything else right now?
No, that would be all. I mean, other than, because I think I got it from what Stephanie said as far as the Zillow and the estimating, I'll just go ahead and just kind of based off of what's, has already sold in that type of condition.
Perfect, yeah. And I would encourage you too, Tim, especially since you're newer, and even Mark, I mean, it's good info. If you go into the members area under bonuses, recorded calls, it's got recorded calls from the last class as well. So you can go through, I mean, there's some really good calls, some calls where there's 15 people on there and stuff. And it's just good shit, if you've got time or you're in the car or whatever, because just like you said, Tim, where we're talking about comps, a lot of things get talked about on every single call that aren't really CCOS, right? CCOS is getting calls out, getting leads. I mean, that's a marketing thing. But all the other, everything else goes together, and that's how we turn it into money, right? So there's like tons of good info, and I would definitely just go through and listen to all of them, in your time.
Okay. Also, do you have like one to send out to the realtors? Because I thought about getting you how to do the cash buyers as well. Is there like a voice message that we can send out to them, or do we call them?
Yes. Okay. So you're talking about using realtors to bring you to be the buyers, or to bring you more sellers, because you can do both. Work.
Really?
Yeah. We play those on both sides. So
okay.
So here I'll kind of walk you through how we do it. So with you can set up a broadcast and send it out to all the realtors that says, "Hi, my name is Tim. I'm a local cash investor. I'm looking to buy a couple properties. If you ever come across, if you don't have anything right now, that's fine. I'm looking for pocket listings. So if it's already listed on the MLS, I've probably already underwrote it, and it's probably more than I want to pay. But if you come across deals where the homeowner needs to rent it back, or there's a weird tenant situation, or the house needs repairs, or anything weird, we can always move quick with cash, no banks, none of that kind of stuff. And we're happy to pay you a commission, right? And then you turn realtors into bird dogs. What I'll caution you on that is doing that early on is a tougher game because a lot of realtors are going to have more experience than you, and they're going to see what you're doing really quick. Whereas, like, I can do that campaign, and I'm actually just going to bring back, like, some of them are gonna be like, oh, you're probably just wholesaling it. But if they'll hear me out, right, I'm going to be able to kind of convert those. You're playing them at a different angle. So that definitely gets you leads. It's just, if you're newer, I'd be a little cautious. Otherwise, I'd put it in my back pocket until I've done a few deals and I'm starting to get like, okay, I've got this thing down. We're scaling up. Oh, shit, I know that's going to get me more leads. And if you're not sure exactly, DM me or reach out to me at that point. So I'm ready for that. Josh, can I get a copy of your message that you guys send out to realtors, right?
Right.
That's something even us, like, we'll send it out like once a month, once every couple months, and from a different person, because otherwise, like, everybody, like, you really just have to remind them, and it's more about cultivating them. Then, you know what I mean? Because somebody could get your message now, be like, oh, yes, absolutely, save your number. They might not call you for 10 months, right? So that, right. But there's a lot of realtors out there. On the other side of things, you can use realtors as your buyers. And the way I would do that is I have Cash Buyers Hack, which teaches the whole setup. But yeah, you can email them or call them or text them or however. Yeah, you get a deal and you just send it to them. Like, here's the info, you know, as is, or I'm sorry, you know, wholesale price is X, as is value is Y, ARV is Z. You know, are you or anyone you know is interested?
Okay.
And that's the best way to get buyers that exist.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to do. I was going to go ahead and try to look into that as well.
Yeah, now the buyer side, it can be a little bit of expenses. There's a couple nuances. If you use MailChimp, first of all, if you just upload, you know, however many realtors are in your area and blast it off, your MailChimp's probably going to get shut down. So you got to kind of know how to do that and finagle through that, which I teach inside Cash Buyer Hacks. It's pretty detailed and long to go through. On the calling side, it's easy. You can upload them all and text blast them. Massive right. Have text blast yet. We recently talked to him about that because we were looking for a cheaper option. I was like, why don't you guys do, you guys are so much cheaper than everybody else for the calling. Like, so hopefully they'll do it. In the meantime, we're using, what is it? It was a new one I hadn't even heard of. But it's like, for us, there's 40,000 realtors in Phoenix. So it costs us $400 to send it. I think it's like 4 cents a send. So that's the only thing is like, you're literally, it's not like you're just paying for, oh, I mean, I guess you are just paying the minutes. The minutes are just so much more expensive on the text blast. Whereas the email, you just play like your MailChimp $100 or $150 or whatever, and you can send out, you know, a lot of emails.
Okay.
But what I would do right now is I would use the Cash Buyers. Once you get a deal, that email thing's going to be gold. And I would probably jump, if you don't have Cash Buyer Hacks, I would grab that right now with where you're at. Because as soon as you get your deal, you got to dispose of it. And if you don't already have buyers, you want to start getting your buyers in place right now. And that's going to enable you to do that and get everything ready. So if you get a deal, you know, Monday or next week, you're that much quicker to being able to blast it to them, you know, with everything being right.
Yeah.
Using realtors to bring you seller leads is kind of bird dogs like we talked about. I would, right. And I put that on the back burner. It's definitely something you're going to come back to. Just you want to be at a point where you're very confident to talk to realtors and understand the way they think in the world they live in before you start trying to leverage them. Otherwise, it's going to be brain damage.
Okay, yeah, because that's what I was looking at too. Because I said if I can find out what, you know, the buyers' prices are, like their hard prices, I can just kind of go in and say this is what we can pay, and you know, that's it.
Yep. Yeah, and in the beginning, if you can just find 3, 4, 5 real buyers, right? MVPs, and we talk about this in Cash Buyer Hacks, that helps you because now when you get leads, they're like, you're not sure, they're kind of in the middle, right? You can send it out to them and just be like, hey, you know, what do you think you could pay for this? Here's all the info, right? Now you can always tie up the deal and then back out of it if it's not a deal, but you don't want to do that like all the time or like by default because every time you do that, it's gonna like it's a little bit of a grind, right? Doing it once in a while is normal, but if you're like, Josh, I tied up 10 deals and I cut them all, that's going to spend some energy. Now, I will tell you, be ready for that, right? Because you're a newer wholesaler. So if you don't tie up some shit and learn, you're going to miss some deals. So err on the side of tying them up, right? But as you get more experience, like even now, if I'm not sure, maybe I think it's a deal, we'll err on the side of tying up a deal. But I can tell you, we tie up deals and cancel, you know, at probably 5% of what I, you know, did when I first started wholesaling, you know what I mean? Because now I just know, I'm like, oh no, like this one I might have been before, but like, no, I know this one's not going to sell. Or I kind of know which ones like might surprise me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I kind of get hesitant sometimes. I'm like, I don't know if I should tie it up this high. I don't want to, you know, get their hopes up or anything. I have to back out.
The quickest thing too, and this is why having the cash buyer hack stuff in place, you want to be able to get a property under contract and within 24 to 48 hours know if it's a deal or not. Because once you can do that, now your confidence in tying them up, even if you have to cancel it out, goes through the roof, right?
Right.
You're going to know so quick. It's one thing when you're like, yes, we can do this. And then like 30 days later you cancel and they've like packed all their shit. They're about to move. And now like their whole life is like, we thought we had a check coming. And now like, what are we going to do? Like,
yeah,
don't do that. Don't be that guy. Now, if it happens once in a while because it was a weird situation, you thought it was a deal, it should have, like, again, we are in this business to make money. Just don't put anybody in a bad spot, right? Like, right is always right and wrong is always wrong. But really speaking, like us, I mean, as long as I've got a contract with pictures, I can know within 24 hours whether we, now some deals I just know. I'm like, yeah, that's just a freaking deal, right? And probably 80% of our deals, right? But all the other ones, that 20%, if it's a thin one or not sure, I know right away because I'm blasting it. The only day I don't blast on is Friday, or I don't blast on the weekends, Friday through Sunday. The reason I don't blast on Fridays is buyers are lazy on Fridays, right? A lot of people that have money go to the beach, go on vacation, take the afternoon off, and then Monday they come in at 4, right? Like it's just, so I like Monday through Thursday, and I like in the morning. The reason I like in the morning, same reason. In the afternoon, people are going on appointments, picking kids up from soccer, doing this, doing that. In the morning, they're in their email. They're at the desk, right? They're in hustle mode because lead generation is usually in the morning, whether that's looking from an next fix and flip project or whatever. And then afternoon, most people are going to be more appointments and running around errands, whatever. But all that to say, even if we write a deal on a Thursday, right? Hopefully we're going to get pictures at the appointment, or we're going to immediately go get pictures, and I'm blasting that one out Monday morning, right? Now, if I end up Thursday and they have to close next Friday, well, I wouldn't do that because I'd be like, well, title's not going to be ready that quick, so I, finagle it. But point being, if whatever the seller situation compresses that, then you just make that decision. Is it still enough time for me to figure it out, or am I going to put them in a bind? Ultimately, it's just, am I going to put them in a bind or not? And once you can do it quickly, you're almost never going to really put anybody in a bind. Like we just canceled on one deal this week, actually, I'm sorry. It was an deal. It wasn't fulfilling on steroids. Listed at $350, probably worth $350. I honestly, by the number, it should sold quickly at $350, but they listed it at $400 and then lowered it to $390, $380. By the time it got to $350, like no one even knows it's there anymore. It's gone what we call stale, right? So that, so it's probably worth $350, but even if, let's say, because the market spoke, it's worth $340, we got it tied up at $290, and we're looking at it in a hot location going, we should be able to move this at $299, $299,999. But it didn't. $300,000 is not a cheap price point for us in Phoenix, like we were talking about earlier. So this is a condo in Scottsdale, so decent, not like the highest. There's some pretty expensive condos in Scottsdale, but it's not like a cheapy property. And we ended up canceling it because, and in this case, there was a realtor involved, and the realtor only gave us a 48-hour inspection period, and they wanted $3,000 down, right?
Right.
Like we got 48 hours. We blasted it. We had about 6 calls. Didn't sell it. Nobody was just pulling the trigger. Could we have sold it to one of those people or maybe somebody else had we had more time to keep marketing it? Maybe, right? I don't know, 50-50, but I couldn't get more time. All I had was 2 days, so I took the best shot that I had. But I'm comfortable canceling that deal, and fuck it. If I could write the same unit again today for another 2 days, I'd probably do it, right? But I wasn't comfortable to just walk away from $3,000 because I knew I was going to make $7,000, right?
Right.
So if that helps.
Okay, cool. Because I got one. That's what I was wondering. So I got one I got to go look out on tomorrow, and I'm like, I don't know if I should lock it up at this price or not, but I'm gonna go ahead and lock it up at that price and then just push it out.
Do you know why they're at that price?
Well, because they bought it. It was a canceled renovation. I guess they ran out of money or whatever. But they did put something in, some electrical and some more things into it. So
it's gonna be. So here's the thing right here. They already paid probably what you would wholesale it for because they bought it as an investor to flip it, right?
Yep.
So don't get me wrong. There's always times where there's always exceptions, okay? I bought a house a couple of years ago up in North Scottsdale. It was a $900,000 house. The guy tried to sell it for $1 million. He bought it, fully remodeled it, tried to sell it for $1 million, and didn't sell it. Dropped it to like $925, $950, I don't remember. Took it off the market. Some other person got the deal at 515.
Really?
Fully remodeled. I mean, HGTV style, North Scottsdale. The house was dope. I tried to get my wife. I'm like, let's just move into it. We'll sell it here. It'll be our personal residence, tax-free, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 gain. Luckily, my wife had some wisdom. She goes, Josh, we're not driving half hour each direction, taking the kids to school every day and going to work.
Yeah.
And we still crushed it. I think we made like 70 grand wholesale fee in like hours. So, but that was an exception, right? Like normally people aren't going to spend like, you know, all that money, put all that money in. And the reason that was an exception, the guy was a Canadian. The Canadian currency was overnight dropping like a rock against the dollar. And as that's happening, another investment came across that guy's desk. It wasn't a real estate. It was oil or a business or something. I have no idea. I never talked to the seller, right? There was another guy that brought me the deal. But it was a perfect storm that created an exception. So I say all that to say exceptions do happen. But going back to your case, okay, 9 out of 10 leads that are like, yeah, I bought this house recently to try to flip it, and now like I ran out of money or whatever, and I'm just trying to get out of it, they're not going to be a deal. And the reason why, they already paid, they started off paying what you would probably sell it for, okay? So that's the first thing. You need something back of that, one. Every dollar they put into it might have been higher than the guy that's actually going to flip it would have paid, because the guy that actually could turn that into a deal has better systems and processes and vendors and pricing, right? But now this guy's trying to make up what he paid for the windows that the other guy would have bought for less. So it just, you know, bottom line, usually, and if you go on MLS, you'll find a ton of remodeled houses sitting on the MLS because the flippers bought them, can't get their money back out, and they're sitting there now. So I'm not trying to crap you out, but that's these are just experienced things, knowing, okay, when it's this situation, a lot of times this is the thing. You're still going to go all through the process, make sure you're not missing anything, and make sure you can't turn it into a deal, because these guys are something, right? Like they are probably going to sell the house. But the bottom line is, are they going to work 10 times harder to sell the house with financing in place and already owning it than you are? Because it's probably not worth it. As hard as they'll work to do it because they have to, it probably isn't worth it for you to work that hard, because even if you end up doing it, you're probably going to be lucky to squeeze $500 for yourself in there by the time you actually find a buyer and a seller. And if you're going to go do that, you might as well be a real estate broker. So unless they're super motivated and you're looking at going, oh my God, they bought it lower than, and they still can, and just such a good deal. But definitely it's red flags right away. Like, well, they already bought it as the investor. So it's you know, you're looking at something else. You know what I mean? So you need a red flag now to overcounter the other one, which ultimately is going to be what price. So it's really easy to get right to it. But you know what I mean?
But yeah, dude, I appreciate that honesty, because that's what I was kind of like, I'm like, yeah, I should go, I shouldn't go. Then I was like, all right, well, they have another investor coming as well. So I was like, well, maybe if I let that happen and then try to follow up within 2 weeks and see what happens, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a great thing, because what I'll do too is I'll just tell somebody flat out, like, I'll make my offer. I'll be like, this is where I'm at, right? And like, there's no way. Okay, but remember what we were talking about earlier? Call them in 2 weeks, right? Like they might, their thing might change because they were still holding out. Now it's been 2 weeks. Like, damn it, nobody called, you know, and they got to do something. So you're all over.
All right, so I'm on the right path. All right, cool.
Yep, absolutely. Well, cool guys. Crush it. Have an awesome weekend. Work the leads. Let me know anything I can do to help, and then we'll catch up again next week.
All right, thank you, Josh.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
See you, Mark.
See you guys.
Bye, Tim.
Bye-bye.
So I just paused that.